Unlocking levels, unlocking levels, unlocking levels. Hosted by Seal the Source. Tap in. My good people, welcome back to another episode of Unlocking Levels. I am your host, Seal the Source. Thank you once again for tapping in. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things that I've observed within myself fairly recently and also within other people. Just playing the role of the observer, you catch a lot of different things, you pay attention, you feel like you're more tuned in, and you're trying to get a better grip and understanding of why we do what we do as human beings, what life is about, trying to find understanding in this whole experience of life, and just trying to find whatever means the most to you in every interaction, in every experience, and just as the time goes by, just trying to find fulfillment, enjoyment, and contentment in his life. And to really kind of be clearer about the topic of discussion today, I really wanted to talk about not being too passive with what it is that you have to say. If there's something that you need to say, speak up on it. That's what I recommend. And I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things, figuring out if it's even worth it to say something or it's not. So, picking and choosing your battles is extremely important. And I think that when you identify that something is going to weigh heavy on your heart, or you know that you need to say something and you need to speak up, I highly encourage people to do that, regardless if the other party receives it or not. It's more for yourself more than anything. You may or may not agree with this method of doing things, because some people choose to kind of be less confrontational, will try to avoid conflict, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, in order to keep the peace. Like, if that works for you, by all means go ahead and do that, and continue to live life that way if that works the best for you. Now, if you do find yourself in a place where you feel like that's working for you, but you have random blow-ups or random moments where you just kind of lose control and you wonder why that's happening, maybe this episode could shed some light on that, because as the role of the observer of myself, I've paid attention to kind of how I've chosen to live my life, especially more recently. I definitely choose peace over anything, most oftentimes than not. But like I just said earlier, sometimes you got to pick and choose your battles, and by that, I really mean kind of determining whether or not what you need to say is going to be worth it in that moment. Is it going to do more damage, or is it going to be helpful for the situation? Whatever is going on. To provide a better example, I'll give you something that happened most recently. As I've mentioned, working in a restaurant is already complicated as is. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different elements that can create a lot of chaos and a lot of moments of just stress and hecticness. And for me, it's even a little bit more complicated in that it's a very small place that we work in, and I work with my family. I work with my uncle, my cousin, my auntie, and a few other people, but it's just a very small operation. And with that being said, we do a lot of business, which is great. There's no complaints there. We're doing excellent business. We've got events, we got regular business, we got lunch service, dinner service, and we're doing pretty well, so it's all a good thing. But with that, there's also a trade-off, and that trade-off is usually just working a lot. People are under a lot of stressful stressful moments. A lot of things kind of come into play, and then you throw in the dynamic of being family. That's already complicated in itself. So to just add to that further, you add that work environment, right? And where often, like, I'm really good at checking things at the door, and that's something that I highly encourage people to do all the time. It's like, if you're showing up to somewhere, showing up to work, showing up to do your job, check whatever you got going at the door. And that's something that I do. But that's not always the case for other people, and in those moments, again, it can be complicated. So you have to kind of this is truly where you have to learn how to be selective with what it is you're going to say, what it is you want to say, how you're going to say it, the timing of when you're going to say it. All of that matters, and it factors into, achieving your goal ultimately. You know what I'm saying? I think that when I say pick and choose your battles, sometimes things are not even worth it. Sometimes, especially in the heat of the moment, you want to let things kind of calm down before you say anything that could be destructive, because a lot of times when you're thinking emotionally, you say a lot of things that you don't mean. And, it happens in the heat of the moment. It happens to the best of us. Actually, it happens in, some of the best companies, on some of the best teams of some of the people we admire the most. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but at the end of the day, you got to find ways to let cooler heads prevail. And, I'll give you guys an example. Most recently, there was a bit of a spat that happened between some of us at the restaurant, and if you can't already tell, I'm somebody that really would rather choose positivity, peace, love, and just good vibes overall versus anything else. And I think that for a long time I would kind of just do my job and try my best to stay positive, try my best to keep the morale up, try my best to put positive energy out there. And for a long time it works, and it does very well, and it keeps things together. But there are times where when I'm doing that, I remain tight-lipped for the greater good. And but what that's doing is I'm not necessarily able to express myself the way that I see things. I kind of let things slide here and there for the greater good. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you don't express some of the things that really matter to you, that truly not only matter to you, but that matter to whatever it is that's going on, matter to the operation, matter to life. You know what I'm saying? If you don't express that stuff, you're going to be tasked with carrying that with you. And a lot of times, if you don't express how you feel, it tends to fester within you. And when it festers within you, at some point it's going to get to a boiling point where you're going to eventually erupt, and you're going to have these blow-ups, and you're going to just lose your cool. And it happened pretty recently over something super small that could have been avoided, I think, looking back at it, if I was able to find and create more time to communicate what I see and how we can fix this, or change my way of approaching people, or not being passive about things that I see and things that I hear people say, or things that people do, whatever the case may be, right? But I say all that to say that when you're passive, it's kind of like sweeping things under the rug, right? It's kind of like not saying nothing, to make everything cool, to avoid the uncomfortability, to avoid the conflict, and to just continue to keep moving forward, which is something that I strongly believe in doing. But what ends up happening is, if you don't address things head on, sometimes the more important matters, it'll pop up again and again and again and again, and then behavior will start to change depending on each situation. And people get comfortable, people think they could say stuff, people think they could do stuff, people think it's all right, and from their perspective it is all right, because you haven't said nothing, because you've been tight-lipped, because you've kept your mouth shut, because you wanted to avoid conflict and you wanted to just keep this thing in motion, right? So what ends up happening is you'll start to feel attacked. You'll start to feel it wear down in you. Slowly but surely, it'll start to wear down on you. And I don't care who you are, We all have breaking points at some point, and it comes out in different ways. A lot of times what happens with human beings when they reach that point, that's when things get said, things get done, and sometimes they're irreversible. And before that point even actually happens, this is why, I think it's really important to express exactly how you feel. And with that being said, I think it's important, again, you got to pick and choose your battles. So little things that that are not going to bother you, you got to really be truthful with yourself. If it's something that you feel like it's not going to bother you and you feel like you can continue to move forward with it, by all means, keep going, do your thing. Do your best to remain stoic through it all. But at the same time, if it's something that you feel like is gonna repeat itself and you've addressed, and you feel like you need to address this, then I suggest that you absolutely address it. Now, when you address things, always have the end goal in mind. Never feel like make the other person feel like they're being attacked where they have to defend themselves, because when that happens is you're now on the defense and that person's now on the defense, and nothing gets resolved in moments like that. It's because that person shells up, you shell up, you say stuff, they say stuff, and then nothing gets done. It just becomes a shouting match at that point, and there's really nothing good that comes out of that, really. So I think that when situations happen like that, it's best to take the time to yourself to actually assess what's going on or what happened, and then choose a better way to convey whatever messages that you have to the other party. My mistake was I wasn't patient enough. I saw some things, I allowed some things, and things just kept happening. And when it was brought to my attention for the 100th time, you kind of just, not to justify my behavior, but I lost my patience and I said what I wanted to say in that moment. I reacted versus responded, and I said a lot of crazy stuff, in the heat of the moment. I think that what I did say needed to be conveyed, but looking back at it, I can honestly say that I could have handled things better, and I should have handled things better, and I expect myself to handle things better. I don't say that to beat myself up. I say that to look at myself and be brutally honest with myself, and if I want to get better as a person, these are things that I'm going to have to face the truth of, and I'm going to have to look at myself in the mirror and tell myself, yo, truly, you could have done better, and there will be an opportunity at some point down the road for you to exhibit what you've been working on, and to present yourself in a better light, and where you not to impress other people, but more about yourself, more about you doing it for yourself, knowing that you hold yourself to a high standard, choosing the energy that you want to put out there, right? Choosing how you want to face the world and meet the world, and that's more of what it's about. It's never about, oh, that person's a good person. Nah, it's I don't do what I do for anybody else but myself. It's really because I want to meet the highest version of myself. I demand to operate as the highest version of myself, and the highest version of myself has a higher threshold for intolerance for annoying things, and being more patient. So I just know that I can be better, and there's another level to get to, and I will get to it. So in moments like that, I don't just necessarily cast it aside like I used to. These are moments that are very valuable, where I can actually collect some data and actually analyze, okay, what happened here? And for me, I've found that I need to just speak up more, even if the other party doesn't receive it in the moment. I got to do my part and let it off my chest, because it's gonna keep building up. So, and I think that what I realized about doing that is you lean more towards being your authentic self. You're not hiding anything. You're not remaining tight-lipped for the sake of keeping the peace. You're doing it because you're speaking up because it's important to you. You know your intentions are to make things better, and if you're doing it with the intention of not attacking the other person, not not singling anybody out or anything like that, then I think that you can find better ways to communicate exactly what it is that you feel in that moment, with the intention to make things better. And I may have just kind of gone on a crazy, all over the place type of rant, which I tend to do quite often. But please bear with me. I think the biggest thing I'm trying to get off here is that, be yourself, and if it upsets other people, so be it. You can't see, when you avoid conflict and you avoid speaking on things that truly matter to you and are truly how you feel, you start a war within yourself, and then you start your narrative and the dialogue in your own mind starts to change. You start to look at people differently. You start to act differently. You start to behave differently. You start to become a different person because of what other people are doing, what outside circumstances are happening. And the only way to truly avoid that is to just speak up, to be honest with you. Say what you need to say, and it's not always going to be comfortable. You could do your very best, and I encourage you to do your very best in terms of choosing the right way of saying things, the right way of expressing yourself. But at the same time, you can only be you. All I ask is that you be the best you. And when you do that, and you know that you're leading from the heart, then I don't think you really can go wrong. And sometimes people are going to be upset. That's just the fact of the matter of fact. So you got to be okay with that. You got to accept that. It is what it is. And in life, as you will learn, other people will learn, it's not always going to be sweet. It's not always going to be easy to get along. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be able to communicate in the right way, communicate effectively. And I think, again, this all boils down to and goes back to knowing yourself. If you know yourself and you know that you're coming from a pure place with pure intentions, never to demean anybody, never to attack anybody, never to put anyone down. It's more about trying to elevate and get better and, put good energy out there. And you operate from that space, you really can't go wrong. Even if the other person gets offended by it, I'm sorry, it just is what it is. And most oftentimes what happens is the other person will come to realize I didn't mean to take that as, so offensively, and become defensive. And they end up coming to you and saying hey, I know you mean well, let's just, I apologize on my part too. And then look, you put your walls down, and then you can actually get to the heart of what it is you guys are trying to accomplish together. And, I think for your own personal sake too, and speaking for myself, it's just so much better just being real and just saying what's on your mind and being truthful. And even if you disagree with somebody, or if someone disagrees with you, say it. There's ways of saying things where it doesn't always have to be an argument. It doesn't always have to be a fight. You can say stuff, and then if the other person's uncomfortable about it, they can just say they don't want to talk about it, and that's fine. You could just move on. But at the same time, at least you spoke what you needed to speak, rather than starting a war within yourself. Because again, what happens is you start to hold on to that. It becomes worse and worse within you, and it becomes heavier and a lot harder to deal with. And that's when you actually create more of a mess, is when you're holding on to something that you think is harmless, but you're holding on to it, and it just becomes heavier, it becomes more of a burden, it becomes more uncomfortable. And yeah, that's just not a great way to live, to be quite honest with you. Speaking your mind and being who you are at all times is a much more easier way to go. And I think what can make it easier for you, if you're somebody that doesn't want to deal with conflict or doesn't like conflict. I don't like conflict. I really don't. If you are a person like that, then I think that the best thing you can really do is just like understand, like, hey, you're not always going to be liked. You know what I'm saying? People are not always going to like you. People are not always going to agree with you. And the sooner you accept that, the easier it's going to be for you to just kind of say what it is that you want to say, be who you are at all times. And bottom line is, you got to love yourself regardless. Like, you got to know yourself to the point where nobody can knock you off your square. It's not a pride thing. It's more about, just knowing yourself and standing on your square, because that's really important. Because if you gullible out here, you're more likely to get taken advantage of and manipulated, and that's probably worse than any of all this. Is just somebody taking full advantage of you, and I don't think that's an existence that's comfortable for anybody. So yeah, I hope that what it is I said in this episode lands. I know it was kind of all over the place sometimes, but the biggest message I want to just say is just be yourself, be authentically you, be true to yourself, and stand on your square. Don't avoid conflict. Don't avoid conflict and start a war within yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, speak up, say what you need to say, and and you live with the results. At the end of the day, nothing's ever as big of a deal as it is in the moment, and life is always going to go on. So I would just say that find ways to continuously choose to communicate effectively with positive intention, and you go from there, man. So with that being said, thank you for tapping in and bearing with the format change. As you can see, I'm sitting on the couch right now if you're watching the video format of this, so it's a different kind of background and everything like that. But I gotta give y'all the real deal. Like I've been telling you, every Monday I'm dropping new episodes, and here's a promise that I'm gonna put out there, not only to y'all but for myself. But next month, June of 2023, I'm gonna be doing a whole lot more with my content. It's a promise that I made to myself and now promising to y'all, because things have been going crazy. With work, I work a lot. It's very stressful, very hectic, and I'm dealing with it. No complaints on my end. I try to handle it. It's just balancing everything out, and I'm not looking for any pity or anything like that. No, that's not what I'm doing at all. But what I am trying to do is just try to give y'all better context of why I haven't been as consistent with putting out content as I would like to. But June is going to slow down a lot more for me. I'm going to be able to dedicate more time to this, which is extremely important to me, being able to be here for you and give you everything that I got. And I anticipate that I'm going to be a better version of myself in June, because not only am I doing this, I've committed myself to getting back on my healthier habits, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I have kind of fallen off in a lot of different ways. I work out 2-3 times a week, if I'm lucky. My eating habits haven't been the greatest. My sleeping habits haven't been the greatest. I still meditate every single day. I still read almost every day. I try to get as much exercise as I can. Even if I don't go to the gym, I still do my push-ups and, just get some physical activity in. And, I still maintain a lot of healthy habits. So it's not all bad. But I know, being brutally honest with myself again, I know I can be better. I know there's things I can tighten up on and be more disciplined with myself on. So with that being said, that's my commitment and my vow, not only to y'all but to me for sure. So next month, 2023 June, it's gonna be a bigger month for me in terms of, you'll see a lot more productivity, a lot more production. I'm going to try to tap into, a higher source a lot more and come up with more creative concepts. And only time will tell. Only time will prove what it is I'm saying. So, let's let that speak for itself. And with that being said, thank y'all for tuning in to another episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, follow me on Instagram at CL_the source, at Unlocking Levels, at Free Matrix Productions. You can also hit me up on my vlog at GoodLife_with CL. And I'm on Twitter at CL the source, Facebook, all that. Like, the links are on the show notes right here, y'all. So, but more than anything, thank you so much for tapping in, and I appreciate y'all. Hope this helped, and big love to all y'all. Peace.